Hello, I'm here with Bracca Build's latest prop, the DH-17 blaster. Welcome to the tutorial and assembly video on how to construct this blaster. I'll try to keep this intro short and concise and get right to the building process. I just wanted to say at the start that we offer a plain kit and a metallic kit. I'm going to construct this as if it were the metallic kit, even though it is clearly plain. The plain kit is meant for someone who wants to sand and paint the blaster themselves. If you are planning on doing that, I would suggest skimming through this video, figuring out which parts you want to tape off and not fully paint when it comes to the construction aspects, then go paint the blaster pieces, and then come back here a second time to really see how to fully construct it. So when you receive this blaster, you'll receive a little note, a lot of the main pieces, as well as a little bag with all your greebles. Now, the only other things you're gonna need in this process is some super glue or bonding agent to attach all the pieces together, any 100 to 200 grit sandpaper. This helps with the super glue adhesion in between the parts, but also, like I said, if a piece is just giving you a little bit of extra give, just sand it down a little bit, it should fit just fine. So here we have the main body piece of the blaster. You can see there are holes all throughout this. Let me come up to you. This piece houses every main component of the body. We have the muzzle there, the back, the scope on top, all these holes for greebles, and this is all for the handle and trigger mechanism. That's one of the last things I should mention. This blaster has a moving trigger mechanism. You don't have to have the moving trigger, you can just glue it in place if you'd like, but I'm assuming that you'd want to if you have the opportunity. So the first thing you're going to want to do is actually take the trigger that's included in the greeble bag, as well as all of the little red pieces. If we dump out the bag, there are various red pieces or other off-colored pieces. Those are printed in ABS so that the trigger does not break. We have a little peg that it swivels on, various clamp pieces to hold the spring, a hinge piece that just has a hole for the pole, some springs that are just, PLA springs, but they give a little bit of, give to the blaster trigger. And although all those pieces are in ABS, if you do not let them rest with the super glue for enough time, they will just come out and break the mechanism. And it is worth noting that it is tedious to try and fix the trigger mechanism once the blaster is completely assembled. So I would suggest taking both the hinge piece and one of the clamp pieces, sanding down the bottom face that it sticks into and most of the sides lightly, and sticking it into the trigger with some super glue and letting that sit for at least like 5 or 6 hours. Same goes for the top inside of the body. If you look, the octagon face with the hole is where the muzzle goes. And if you flip that upside down so you have those 3 rectangle cutouts, you'll see in the middle one an even smaller cutout. This is where you stick the other clamp. You just stick it in there. Again, a little tricky, but sand it a little, put some super glue, take some time with your tweezers or something, and make sure it's pressed in there firmly. Now here is what you're gonna wanna do. We are going to grab the trigger main body piece. This will slide through this trigger as well as the hole here drilled in the side. So you're going to just barely stick this into the side. We're going to then take the trigger and stick it in. I apologize for doing this upside down. Stick it in here, and from above, make sure that the pole goes through. All right, I just pushed it through. It takes a little bit of finagling, but once you get it, you should be able to push it all the way through, and it should be flush on the inside. So now this hinges just like that. We are going to put this little greeble detail right over the top, so you won't even notice that the mechanism is in there. As you can see, once I put that in there, the little spring is right there, and it'll snap into there and allow you to then hinge this piece properly. Also, just wanted to touch on the trigger guard attachment. I would suggest doing this at the very end once you know the trigger mechanism is good and the full blaster is glued together. On top of that, that side greeble detail to cover the hinge as well as this side one is something you should do. You just glue the long bar into the smaller detail piece. You can see what it looks like, and then just glue this together and glue it in the spot. And on top of that, there are these detail pieces. I don't even really know what to call them, but these little long greeble bars that go on the top. Those don't have any attachment point. I just glued those on separately. Just line them up however it sees fit in an image, or like you see in this video, and just put some super glue, sand the edges, and line it up, and you'll be good. And again, just let that sit for a few hours while you can assemble the rest of the blaster. And what I also was going to get to is assemble this whole trigger mechanism and handle last, and that just makes it easier to do afterwards. Besides the whole handle and trigger, there are 3 main sides besides the greebles: the muzzle, the back end, and the scope. It doesn't really matter which order you do those in as long as you do the handle last. I don't have all the greebles in front of me, so I will be cutting between a metallic footage set I have as well. I'll try to keep it as linear as possible. When it comes to the muzzle, there are only 3 pieces. We have the main body. There is a tip. If you buy the metallic kit, a silver and orange one is included. If you buy the plain kit, just an orange one is included. You can keep it orange or you can sand it as well. It just fits right into there and you have to glue that in place, along with this muzzle pole that just slides right into here to keep it more sturdy, and then that again slides directly into here. There. If you are not going to sand this and you have the metallic kit, I would keep an eye on where the seam lines are and just line it up accordingly so it's on like the bottom of the blaster or something like that. When you assemble this, I would sand down this pole and put some glue in there and then stick it in. And before you do that, also sand most of the faces here if you can, and then the top face here, so that when you go to assemble it and put the glue in there, it has some nice faces to stick to, and that would be the muzzle section done. When it comes to the scope, you have your main scope rail as well as 2 attachment points. The scope comes in 3 pieces with a middle, a back, and a front end that will just end up assembling like this, but you do not want to glue it beforehand. Do not do that. And grab one of them and slide the middle through, and then the second one slide the back through. There is a very faint ridge on the back part of the scope. You want to line that, when you push it through, you want to line it up so that that ridge is flush against the scope. So when you like push it through, it'll be like that and stop at that point. Once those are in place, you use the front part of the scope and then you can just fit that on. There should canonically be a little bit of black out the front if you want it to be accurate. So don't worry, that is purposeful. Same thing, sand these faces, sand the bottom, put some super glue on it, and this just snaps right in place there. And that is the scope rail. For the back portion, it is actually quite simple. You just, like the muzzle, sand the front face here, the sides of the octagon, and then stick it in. There's a silver greeble on the back that I have left separate so that it can be silver if you'd like, and then you just do the same thing, sand the faces, glue that in right there. Make sure the bar on the back part is going horizontally, and make sure the little ridge sticking out on the end cap piece is pointing face down or in line with this right here, opposite of the scope rail. There are various greebles that you can probably find to place yourself, quite frankly. There's the 2 side silver ones here. The little box goes in this way with the other bulge sticking out. These 5 greebles are here. Stick those 5 greebles in there, and yes, they are supposed to be off center. That is accurate. Another box here as well. Along with the scope piece, there are these 2 ridges that go right on there, as well as 2 circles that go on the mid scope and on the sides of scope attachment pieces. Those are on the right side of the blaster. Make sure they are facing so that the right side of the scope has the 2 dials. Same for this side. Arrow piece goes here, pointing towards the front of the muzzle. Off-center button goes right there, and a little back angle piece is on there as well. And now when it comes to the grip has the knurling separate. This is pretty simple. Just sand the face there and stick it on like so. Pretty simple. Same with the other side. Sand this face. Sand a little bit here too, and that just snaps right into place there. There's also a grip screw that just slides right into there. Again, just simple, sand the bottom face, stick a little glue in there, and just stick it in at whatever angle you like. There isn't no accurate angle for that screw. When it comes to this face, this will snap right into the furthermost point. And once you have that, you're going to line up the silver piece and the handle itself and glue those together first. You can see how those faces line up. It lines up pretty well. Make sure to sand those, make sure those comfortably fit together. Those are the most crucial pieces that you want to really sand just in case, even if you have the metallic kit. And at this point, you should have the trigger being able to swivel on the inside, but not attached to the spring at the top. Now what I would do is take the body piece with the little clamp inside and stick the spring to that. You'll notice that there are 2 sticking out one side of the spring and 1 side sticking out longer. You're going to want to stick the 2 shorter sides facing the back of the blaster. You'll hear a satisfying click once that goes in there, and you'll know that that top piece is locked in. Putting the whole grip section in, you will have both the trigger area and the grip lined up and already glued together. You will sand both of these faces as well as the whole bottom of this. You really want this to stay on. You will carefully line all of it up at the same time so the front and back sections is fitting into their place, right? And make sure the spring has not moved. And if you push it incorrectly and then push the trigger as well at the very slowly and gently, eventually you'll hear a click from the clamp attaching to the spring from the bottom as well. And at that point, the trigger should swivel and you should have a finished blaster. Thank you for tuning into this assembly video. If you have any further questions or concerns, leave in the comments below or reach out to our Instagram or Etsy shop, both at the same name as this YouTube channel of Bracca Builds. Stay tuned for more blaster, lightsaber, ship, and armor content. Either way, thank you for watching and have a nice building process. We hope you enjoyed the blaster. Hello, really quick, feature me giving a quick interjection in this video about the state of our Etsy store. We were previously selling this blaster, and we plan to sell others on our Etsy store. But with Etsy's recent update on their firearm imitation guidelines, our blaster props fell under that, and when they cut our listing, we tried to re-upload it thinking it was just a wording issue or a picture issue, and then they suspended our account. We are not going to sell any prop blasters on Etsy anymore, but we will shift and sell our kits on an eBay page and the files of the blasters on our Cult 3D page, both with the name Bracca Builds. I will link those two shops down below in the description of this video. Some people were asking about a Rogue One edition of this blaster, and we also have plans to make an E11, DL44, SC14 basic blasters from the original trilogy, so stay updated with those stores if you can. Thank you again, and back to the video.
Well, actually, the video is over. If your blaster looks something like this, then you should be all set. Hopefully it looks better than this if you had the sand and paintable kit. And thank you again for staying tuned. I'm sure no one's watching this long, but feel free to check out our YouTube, Instagram, our eBay store, Cult 3D, Etsy, all these different places. We're going to keep pumping out blasters, sabers, ship, and armor kits throughout the summer and for the foreseeable future. So thank you again for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.